Good morning. Welcome to 4media and to our Friday Q&A live stream. Today it's been 81 days since lockdown began. 81 days, can you believe that? But I'm more confused now than ever over what we can and what we can't do. So if I've got this right, from tomorrow, people can now spend the night with a boyfriend or girlfriend they don't live with, as long as one of them lives alone. And you can hug one of your grannies, but not if she's living with your granddad. So from Monday, you can go shopping in Primark, but you can't have a beer in a pub garden, even though there's apparently much less danger of catching coronavirus outdoors. Uh, Apparently, from next week, it will even be compulsory to wear a face mask every time you have a Zoom or a Teams meeting. Well, maybe I made that one up. But one thing's for certain, we're never sure what's going to change from one day to the next. And that means yet another problem for what's already a challenging time for the PR industry. Making sure that the pitch you've been working on for what seems like 81 days isn't scuppered the night before selling by the 5 o'clock Downing Street briefing. Here at 4media, we've been trying to do our little bit to help in these difficult times by holding one of these live streams each week, each time with a leading light from a section of the UK media. And if you need our help or advice on anything at all, please get in touch with one of the team. We've been fortunate enough to have a very busy week, holding remote broadcast days, launching surveys, gaining print and online coverage, as well as producing film content, podcasts, and the like. So for those of you who haven't met me before, I'm Alan Edwards. I'm the head of news at 4media. And before that, I was the night editor of The Sun with quite a lot of years of national newspapers under my belt. Between me and my team and Sam Dibley, his broadcast team, we've got pretty comprehensive insights into all parts of the media, and we're here to help if we can, so get in touch. Today, I'm delighted to have as our guest one of Fleet Street's top decision makers. She exceptionally talented journalist who actually decides what goes in Britain's most unique red top. If you liken COVID crisis to a war, then the Daily Star has had a really good war. Iconic front pages like these, punching home serious points with the use of clever humour. I absolutely love this driving one, which is coming up now. Cops don't drive if you're blind, plus a Dominic Cumming mask, priceless. While covering all the serious points of the news throughout, the Star has been brave enough to lighten the gloom and serve up a bit of positivity and fun for its readers. So you know the drill by now. Many people have sent questions in advance, which I'll put to Pat on your behalf. There's also a facility for you to tap in questions as we go, which will appear down the side of your screen. I'll do my best to get to as many as I can in the 30 minutes we have available. Now, it gives me great pleasure to go over to one of Fleet Street's most powerful women, the executive editor of the Daily Star, Pat Wooding. Good morning, Pat. Lovely to see you.
Hello.
Good morning. So first of all, bit of a lag here, so we apologise for that. Just explain to us how this has all affected the way the Daily Star's working at the moment.
As you can see, I'm working from home, and that has its problems because my Wi-Fi is poor.
Absolutely. So is anybody in the office?
No, we are not allowed in the office because the management are very worried about people's health, quite rightly. We are looking at it again in July.
That presumably makes it very difficult for somebody like yourself who has to juggle lots of balls in the air and decide what stories you're going to use.
Yes, conference calls. I've crashed out of that in the middle of decision making. It makes communication hard. Sometimes it takes you 5 phone calls to make a decision with someone where you would normally just turn around and speak to them. And we haven't gone live with sport, obviously, and that's going to be a huge challenge when the Premier League is back, and we're dealing with lots of live matches.
And what about going forward as we come out of lockdown? Do you think you'll all go back into work, or will this actually change the way you work forever?
I think it will be half and half. I think some people will go back to work and others will work from home where they can, because obviously we're already setting up social distancing spaces. So one lift to go up, one lift to go down. We've got the 2 meter marks on the floors. We've got computers that, every other computer is out of service. And we have a deep clean every day.
So explain to me, just for those of people who perhaps not don't know the Daily Star very well, how your attitude towards this crisis has differed from maybe some of the other papers. You've just been you've gone out on a limb a little bit and been a bit different, haven't you?
We always have to be different, because if we're the same as other papers, we don't sell. And our brand is very much the antidote to lockdown. We try to give people the facts. We're not political. So if you want to know whether Primark is open on Monday, as you said, Alan, it will be in our paper. But we are trying to cut through the noise and tell people what they need to know, and with a bit of humour.
Is there any stories that you're particularly proud of that you've done through this?
We're very proud. I mean, it's a teamwork. I'm not the editor. There are two people above me, so there are three of us at the top. John Clark is the editor. Dennis Mann is the deputy editor, and I'm the number 3. And we decide all these things together. It's teamwork. We throw ideas around, pretty much as people do in PR. For example, the iconic Brexit page was actually the boss overhearing somebody making a joke when people were talking about the end of Brexit. Someone said, "Oh no, it's more important than that. It's the end of dry January," and that became that iconic page 1. We like the Dominic Cummings one. That was the 3 of us knocking ideas around. You'll be surprised to hear we almost went with a different one. We were doing an eye test, but when we saw the mask one, it worked much better. The design worked much better, and it was just simple, and it cut right through.
I think you've just seen on the screen there, Pat, that we just showed an example of the dry January front page, which was a good bit of fun there. Just you've mentioned PRs there, going back into
Yes.
PRs. Is there any tips you can give to people watching this, how they can attract your attention? What kind of stories you might be interested in?
Look at our brand. We are not political, so it's pointless pitching stuff like that to us. We're all about the man and the woman in the street, about pubs, beer, football, racing. That's us. We also like women's products. uh, Dresses, lingerie. We like animals is a huge thing. My editor's a huge fan of animal stories. So if you work for a zoo, pitch stuff to us. I think the best thing is to know your brand, and also get a report pitching for you. Don't overpromise. Don't say you can deliver something when you can't, and also speed up your time scale, because often we want things yesterday, active, and if you don't, uh, uh, we won't deal with you next time.
I think timing is very interesting. That's something that comes up time and time again, that there is a definite difference between the PR clock and a media clock, especially when it comes to newspapers, and they work on different time frames. So in these different times, how is it best to get in touch with the Daily Star? Is it best to go individual reporters? Is it best to go the generic news desk or features desk email, on the basis that, of course, lots of people are not yet, nobody's in the office anymore?
That's a tricky one. If you know the news editor, talk to him, but obviously they're very busy. I would always advocate starting with a reporter and building up a relationship with them. Maybe when we can meet up and have a drink, maybe have a drink with them, or lunch, or even just a coffee or a breakfast. And they could, because it's in their interest to bring in stories. So um, uh, you can email them. Emails quite often get ignored because we all know how busy everyone is. Nothing wrong with a phone call. Just do what you think is right, but I would say at the moment probably email is better.
Yeah, and it's something close to our heart here at 4media. How important to you are survey stories? Do you like those?
Sorry, I missed that question. Could you repeat it, please?
Yeah, not at all. No, they're saying something that's very important, very close to our heart here at 4media, as using surveys as part of the PR armory. How important to you? How much do you like PR survey stories?
Yes, we like PR survey stories a lot, but obviously they have to be relevant. So I used one only today, I think it was, or yesterday, about bike thefts in Cardiff, because people love lists. They like sex surveys, they like food surveys, anything that tells them something about themselves, or that they didn't know, and about their area.
What about celebrity quotes in a story? Do they help as well?
They do help, but obviously there are certain celebrities that work for us. You probably noticed that we like Scarlett Moffat a lot because she's been doing a podcast, and she's looking at conspiracy theories, and the readers love the conspiracy theories. Weather, we love the weather. I don't know why our readers love it so much. Celebrity does work, I know much, but it's a lot of weather stories. So if you have a podcast and you think you've got a story, write that up.
So can I just apologise? We're having a little bit of problems here. I think we'll stick with it. The connection seems to have improved a bit now. Really, I've just got some questions coming in from people who are watching. Specific questions. What about what's the appetite for dating stories in the Daily
Can't hear
Star?
you at all now. Proving the difficulties of working from home. Not stressful at all. Could you repeat the question, please?
Of course. I've just got some questions coming in now from people who are watching, asking about what's the Daily Star's appetite for dating stories.
I can see you again, Alan.
Okay, so we'll try that once more. What's the Daily Star's appetite for dating stories? A specific question that's come in.
Yes, they like dating stories. They like stories about apps. They like to know information about how to meet people because it's quite hard, especially in lockdown.
Second part to that question, what about environmental stories and maybe things like different sort of face masks? I mean, we're all going to be needing to wear face masks if we go on public transport in future, aren't we?
Yes, to answer the face mask first, we're all supposed to be wearing them on public transport from Monday, and you'll be fined if you don't. We were the first paper to say you would have to wear a face mask, but being us, we splashed on the fact that you'd all have to look like Zorro. But it gets the message across, especially if you use the picture like Zorro, people know what you mean. The other question was, sorry, I've forgotten the beginning of that question.
Basically, environmental stories. Are you interested in those?
Oh, yes. Yes, we are. And particularly now, if you are dealing with the environment, I would contact the Mirror. They have an environment, and they are part of our, or we are part of their group. However you want to look at it, I'd say they're part of ours. But the Mirror have a Nada Far, Nada. I must look up her name. I think it's how you pronounce it. It's Farhoud, Farhoud. She deals with the environment. We are very anti-trophy hunting. So if you know, if you know anyone involved in that, or can give us a story about it, we would definitely run that. We've splashed it in the past.
Your website, does everything that appear in the paper appear on the website and vice versa?
No, they're slightly different audiences. So often they do, but more often they don't. We have a, I would say their audience is a little bit more, is a little bit younger. They are massively interested in conspiracy theories. Um, they love aliens. They love again Scarlett Moffat. Scarlett Moffat is huge for us at the moment.
So another question here that was just coming in. What does it take to make your front page?
Oh, we try to be striking. We try to. I mean, we actually did a story about bingo because our readers, the star started with bingo, and it was one of your PR companies that put around a story about changing the bingo numbers. I think it was Wills and Kate 88, and that made the splash, and it was very well received. So it's just being different. Just I think there was a little bit of creative thought from them actually as well. So it worked very well.
So similar question here. I mean, I appreciate these are a bit how long is a piece of string questions, but same question about what does it take to make that, what is the holy grail of getting PR coverage, a spread in the paper or maybe a big page lead? What elevates a story above 3 paragraphs?
Uh, um, we always try to be news reactive, so it can be a TV show that's on. We did the new pictures the other day of King Tutankhamun in color. That was a BBC show, and the pictures were amazing. We are doing a spread on animals giving blood, which who knew that animals gave blood, because that ties in with Blood Donor Week. So if you have look at something that's happening, coming up a date, like Blood Donor Week, and picture something on that.
So having a hook to hang a story on is very important to you.
Yes, yeah, because obviously we are a newspaper and we want to make everything relevant.
Yeah. Moving out of lockdown, I mean, can you see? I mean, you've done lots of stuff about NHS heroes in your paper, I know. Any kind of
Yes.
opportunities you see for brands moving out of lockdown, opportunities really that in a similar vein?
Oh, that's difficult. One of the things we have done a lot of are people giving gifts to NHS workers and well, not just NHS, all the key workers. Let's not forget the bus drivers and the cleaners. So any initiative that helps key workers, schools, or a lot of teachers have been working all the way through for the children of key workers. Anything that's feel good on the lockdown, we would definitely go for.
Mm. So, what about talent? What makes a good branded story, and how important is talent? You mentioned Scarlett Moffat. Are there any other favourite
Yeah.
celebs that the Daily Star likes?
Ah, right. That's a good one. Sometimes we like Amanda Holden, though our readers get a bit fed up with her, if I'm honest, because she's a great example of someone who markets herself really, really well. She's had a great lockdown. She looks amazing. She's a good speaker. She's on the radio. She's on TV. So she's a good one. We like Shaun Ryder a lot. Um, who else do we like? It's difficult because it's often decided on a daily basis. Um, Christine McGuinness, we like Christine McGuinness and Paddy McGuinness. People who tend to be upbeat uh, and do interesting things. Liz Hurley, for example, today we have her in the paper because she's done a funny picture of herself having a lockdown birthday in a bath.
Such a shy, retiring celeb. Um, just moving on, another question we've had is how important are exclusives to you?
Well, we love exclusives. We've had 2 days of the Madeleine McCann story. It's a talk and pictures with an ex-lover who's British. She can't be identified. She doesn't want to be identified, and she also has been the victim of an assault, so a sex assault. So, but her story is fascinating, and she's willing to talk. She has a new clue, and she's willing to talk to the police about it. The British police. She's already spoken to the Portuguese police about it. So that's really important. I think it's bringing something to the inquiry, and I think the Madeleine McCann story has suddenly been reinvigorated. Sadly, a lot of the news is bad, and I feel for the parents on this.
So, I mean, quite a few questions, specific questions coming in. I've got one here from Beverly Bergman. Do press releases still work, or is a tailored pitch more acceptable nowadays?
Uh, the thing I would say about press releases, short, to the point. Uh, don't send a press release with a great big long run in. It's just basically say who, what, when, where, and because we haven't got time to read it. If you've got, so for example, just say, "Hi, how are you? Here's my this is the top line," and then we will read the press release.
Another one here from Cordelia Jacob. Is there any appetite for stories on personal finance? And that ties in with, are you interested in another one, which is how interested are you in stories about personal and commercial debt? So both sides of the same coin, really.
We don't have a city desk or a finance desk or a dedicated page. Of course, we're interested, but it's got to be. We like stories about how it affects everyone. So if you have, we could easily make a page 2 lead out of a good personal finance story, or perhaps if we could make a spread out of how to manage your money, because obviously these are difficult times for people, and some people are going to lose their jobs. I would pitch those stories to the Express and the Mirror, who do have finance pages, especially the Express.
Absolutely. So another question here from Beverly Bergman again. Are you open to using lesser known celebrities?
Yes, of course. Yeah. because how do people become celebrities otherwise? Look at Joe Wicks. He started off as a YouTube personal fitness trainer, and he's become a national hero. So obviously, you're not always going to get them in, but you know you have the power in PR to make somebody a celebrity.
Another question coming in here. What about case studies? Are they important in stories to help maybe elevate it from what might be a small presence in the paper to something bigger?
We do like case studies, especially around the budget. Um, Obviously, anything to do with relationships, case studies are good. Um, so yes, they can work.
So another one, another one we've had in here. Obviously, you mentioned yourselves people losing jobs, and I think generally in media, teams are getting smaller across the board. Um, how have you been affected, or will you be affected by this? And how will you work around it to continue serving your readers?
We do have people on furlough. We are hoping to bring them back. I don't know what the future is. Obviously, that's for the management team, but we really want to help boost the economy. And personally, I think it's a civic duty for all of us to try and boost the economy. We need people to go out spending. In the shops. We need them to realise that the only way forward is to actually help. Uh, I'm quite hopeful because I've lived through the 80s when we had a recession, and we do bounce back. And I think we should be part of helping people to bounce back, telling them how to bounce back.
So I've got quite a controversial question here for you now.
Oh,
What about your opinion on brands getting involved in Black Lives Matter?
I loved the PG Tips Yorkshire Tea story. I think anything that helps with Black Lives Matter um, is good, and I think we have to be careful with it because we do have people who advise us on this. We're having a meeting today from our columnist Eva Simpson, who is herself black. She started on The Voice. Then she moved to the Star, and she's now on the Mirror. Um, it's so difficult because I think we all care and we want to help, but I think we have to be careful because especially with social media, you can alienate people as well, and we want to take them with us um, to help with the um, campaign of Black Lives Matter, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I think it's something that PR has got to be very careful of generally because it's such a delicate subject and it's so easy to put a foot wrong. Moving on as we come towards the end, and I'm pleased to say that the feed seems to be a little bit better now from Kent, from you. So just wondering
Jolly
what
good.
kind of wondering what kind of percentage of stories the Star generates itself, or what kind of percentage is maybe PR led? Do you reckon?
Oh, that's I hadn't really thought about that. I would say it depends on the day, but I would say at least 25% PR on a daily basis. Um, Probably more on other days. Sometimes, as I say, Foxy Bingo got the splash. Um, you just have to try and think. Look at you really do need to read every paper every day, and that's not just an advertising plug for me. You need to analyze who goes for the stories. For example, the Mail will always go for the woman's angle on a story. And you might not realize it, but it is mostly read by women.
That's great advice, I think, Pat. I have to say, reading every paper every day. Um, uh, Another question here, probably the final question before I think we need to leave it, from Zara Lewis of Mischief. What percentage of the paper is currently dedicated to the coronavirus crisis. And I'm aware that the edges kind of get blurred. Everything's got a touch of coronavirus in it. But what kind of percentage do you kind of give over to that?
It's gone down because at the beginning we had to do a lot of information. We are quite a small paper anyway, but we were doing 2 spreads every day and then maybe putting other pictures throughout the paper. So we are now down to 1 spread a day generally. So it's quite hard it has to be really good to get into the virus spread. Obviously, because we're going with the public information. Today we've done a campaign. Here's a campaign straight away. We are doing Save Our Pubs. Various people in the industry have been saying we've got to, whether you agree with it or not, use 1 meter rule standard because otherwise the industry is not going to survive. So that sort of a campaign works for us, and the government were talking about it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Pat, can I say thank you very much? It's been lovely to have you. I'm sure we feel very privileged to have had you on and for you to share your insights with us in the world of the Daily Star and Red Tops. I've found it fascinating. I'm sure everybody watching has too. And so thank you all for tuning in and for sending questions. We really hope you found it useful. And remember, feel free to catch up with any of the team at 4media if you think there's anything we can help you with. If you can spare a minute or two, we're going to play out with our new 4media lockdown show reel to give you an idea of just what we've been up to over the last 81 days. Just a word of warning, I'm in it, so you might want to switch off. We look forward to seeing you next Friday. In the meantime, as ever, look after yourselves and stay well. Bye.
So tell us, Katie, about flamingo chicks.
Olivia Strong started the Run for Heroes campaign.
So let's meet Katie Sparks. Hello, Katie.
Good morning.
Good morning. Loving your rainbows on the wall there, Katie and Poppy.
The reaction to the campaign has been absolutely amazing.
While the Childhood Trust says 40% of London children's charities could be forced to close within 6 months.
Hi there, welcome to tonight's very special Paddy Power Dance from Home.
Joining me now is Andrea Martin, CEO of PRS for Music. Andrea, thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Gusto have told me that there's going to be 1 million people having a virtual dinner together.
Employment lawyer Safwa Afridi told us players would have a strong argument to stay away from training if they felt that it was unsafe.
Well, I'm doing this live on the Sun-Made Raisins UK Facebook page.
Hello and welcome to the Sun-Made California Raisins Craft Club. My name is Radzi and I am so excited.
Amina Warner is the head of clinical services at Allergy UK.
Really good morning to Amina Warner. Nice to have you with us.
Yeah, Gusto contacted me and said what they plan to do, have 1 million people in a live virtual dinner.
Who would be your ideal dinner party guest?
And it's working, Mark. Thank you so much for having me on.
Today's Q&A. We're very lucky to have with us Lawrence Mozaffari. He's the editor of Digital Spy.
How you doing? Hello, Alan.
David Blackmore is a producer and a reporter on ITV's This Morning.
Morning, Alan, and morning, everyone.
We're so lucky to have as our star guest the wonderful Lucy Gornock.
Hi, good morning. Happy Friday.
So tell